Okay, so are you ready to dive into this? We're tackling the Book of Melchizedek today.
Always up for a good mystery.
And this one comes with some serious intrigue attached. We've got excerpts here claiming to hold secrets passed down from Melchizedek himself to Abraham.
Right from the source.
Exactly. And judging by all your notes here, you're not just looking for a simple summary, are you? You want to uncover those hidden connections, those aha moments, all the juicy stuff buried within this text.
You hit the nail on the head. It's like there's this magnetic pull to this blend of history, spirituality, and cryptic teachings. You just can't help but get drawn in.
It's true. It's like trying to piece together an ancient puzzle.
He's a big deal, pops up all over, different religious traditions.
Seriously, not just tucked away in some dusty corner. We're talking Jewish, Christian, even Islamic scholars. They all have something to say about this guy. Where do we even begin with something like this?
Well, every good mystery starts with its main character, right?
Yeah.
In this case, it's Melchizedek. He's practically a superhero in this book. We're talking stopping lions as a kid, quenching fires.
That's a little more hardcore than your average childhood antics.
Yeah.
There's definitely something symbolic going on there, wouldn't you say? What do you think stopping a lion could represent in this context?
Overcoming challenges, taming primal instincts, maybe.
Makes you think.
Yeah. This Melchizedek is portrayed as a king and a high priest ordained by God, who then goes on to impart this divine knowledge to Abraham. It's a bold claim right from the get-go.
No kidding. It definitely sets the stage for something big, especially with this whole City of Enoch thing woven throughout the text. They describe it as this mythical city inhabited by these beings with incredible knowledge who are then taken up by God and are destined to return. This city, nurtured by the earth, rising up. It suggests some kind of deep connection between the physical and spiritual.
And like many ancient texts, this one's full of symbolism and allegory. So while the City of Enoch could be a real physical place, it's more likely a symbolic representation of something deeper, maybe a state of spiritual enlightenment or higher consciousness, something that a lot of mystical traditions allude to.
So we're talking potential parallels to other mystical cities like Shambhala in Tibetan Buddhism, or even the mythical city of El Dorado. It's fascinating how these ideas of hidden utopias pop up across different cultures.
It really is. And speaking of things that pop up across traditions, the text also mentions Melchizedek as the one who ordained Abraham. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Melchizedek is also mentioned in the Bible, specifically in the book of Genesis. He appears as the king of Salem, a priest who blesses Abraham. So, is this the same Melchizedek? It's open to interpretation, but the author's clearly making a deliberate connection here, and that raises questions about the historical and theological context of this whole text.
Wow, so we're already hitting some pretty big questions right off the bat. Is this the same Melchizedek from the Bible? And if so, what does that mean? Is this text trying to insert itself into that existing narrative?
It's definitely a possibility, and this is where things get even more interesting. This text doesn't just present the traditional idea of one Torah, it outlines four: Atzluth, Beriah, Yetzirah, and Asaiah. And get this, each one corresponds to a different level of spiritual understanding and a different world of existence.
Hold on, 4 toras. What exactly are these worlds?
Okay, so imagine each world as a different level of reality or dimension. They're not necessarily separate places, but rather different levels of consciousness or spiritual understanding. Think of it like this. In mystical traditions, the Torah, it's not just one thing, layers upon layers, not just history, but like a blueprint, a code.
Okay, I think I'm starting to grasp that. Like those Russian nesting dolls.
I'm with you.
Each doll is a different world, a different level of being. So the outermost doll, that's Asaiah. The physical world, the world we experience with our senses, the realm of action, of things actually happening in a material way.
Ground zero, basically, where we spend most of our time.
Exactly. Now you open that doll, and boom, you've got Yetzirah, the world of formation. This is where those divine blueprints, the ideas from higher realms, they start taking shape, getting a little more concrete.
So less about solid matter, more about like the energetic blueprint, the feeling of things, the symbolism.
You got it. And we go deeper, right? Open the next doll. This is Beriah, the world of creation. Here, it's all about divine wisdom, pure potential, the source of everything that comes after. Like if Yetzirah is where things start to take form, Beriah is the architect's mind.
Pure concept. Gotcha. So what's the innermost doll?
That, my friend, is Atzluth. This is the core.
Brr.
Pure divine essence, total unity with the source, before anything exists separately.
So are you saying we've got all these worlds, like inside us?
That's the idea. Our physical bodies, our emotions, our thoughts, our connection to something bigger than ourselves, they all reflect these different levels of reality. And the journey this book describes is all about moving through these worlds, from the physical to the divine.
So we're trying to reach that innermost stall, that pure connection.
Exactly. And understanding these four worlds, it's like getting a map not just of the universe, but of your own inner landscape as well.
These worlds are like the landscape. The four toras are like the guidebooks, one for each level.
That's a really interesting way to put it. It's like they're giving you the tools, the language to understand each level. It's up to us to use them.
Right.
But how do these four toras and four worlds relate to our own spiritual progression?
Well, it seems to suggest that we as spiritual beings are on a journey through these different levels of understanding. Each Torah acts as a guide for that specific world or level, leading us towards a more complete understanding of the divine.
So it's like a roadmap for spiritual evolution, with each Torah being a different stage of the journey. That's fascinating. And you know what else I found interesting? Those 7 keys of creation that were entrusted to Adam. It seems like each key corresponds not only to a stage in the creation of the universe, but also to a specific aspect of human experience.
Exactly. It's like the text is drawing a parallel between the macrocosm of creation and the microcosm of our personal growth.
Yes. It's like a blueprint for both the universe and our own spiritual development.
Internal journey, not just some ancient dude with all the answers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's get specific. The first one, uniting the spirit, flesh, and soul. Like, who doesn't want that? Total harmony.
Timeless stuff.
Right. Then there's separating the waters, the second key. Flood myths, anyone, it's everywhere. Water, this destructive force, but also like purifying, rebirth. What's that about?
Deep symbolism for sure. Makes you think.
Absolutely. And the fourth key, the stars. They're like guides, revealing hidden truths in their movements. Astrology, ancient style.
Still relevant today, too.
Right. Whether you're into astrology or not, you look up at the night sky, it just makes you feel small, connected to something bigger.
100%.
See, this is what I love about these deep dives. We start with this one book. Suddenly we're talking universal human experiences, the power of myths, our place in the cosmos.
And it's not just about intellectually understanding these concepts. This text seems to be pushing for practical application as well. You marked a passage about the 8 threads of the priestly garments, right? Each one connected to a different part of the body and a corresponding spiritual principle. It's like an ancient guide to mindful living.
I did. It's like they're saying even the most ordinary parts of our lives, even the clothes we wear, can have a deep spiritual significance. It reminds me of that saying, finding the sacred in the everyday.
It's all about finding the connection between our physical actions and a deeper spiritual awareness. It's truly fascinating stuff, although there's this air of mystery around it all.
Okay, so shifting gears a little bit here. We keep coming across these really complex concepts like Ein Sof, which the text describes as this infinite, eternal source of everything.
Ein Sof, it's a big one. It comes from Kabbalah, which is a mystical tradition within Judaism, and it essentially refers to this boundless, unknowable, divine reality that everything emerges from.
Okay, so imagine an endless ocean, just pure potential, waiting to become something that's Ein Sof.
Exactly, an ocean of pure potentiality.
Wow, okay, so everything, even this Adam Cabinet, this primordial, eternal man, all of that existed within Ein Sof.
That's the idea. It's like saying that the blueprint for everything that ever was and ever will be was always there, just waiting to be unfolded.
That's wild.
It is. And then, according to the text, Elohim, which can be understood as a name for the divine forces of creation, Elohim separated the intelligences from this primordial void, bringing forth these beings of light, the sons of the morning and the daughters of light.
It's like a cosmic ballet.
It's a very poetic, very symbolic description of creation.
It really is.
Yeah.
But where do humans fit into all of this? The text talks about 5 stages of man: intelligence, spirit, flesh, soul, and resurrected being. 5 stages. It's a lot to keep track of.
It is a lot, but it's essentially presenting a view of spiritual evolution. It suggests that we start as pure intelligence and then we kind of descend into the physical realm. We take on flesh and bone. But the goal, the ultimate goal, is to develop our souls and eventually transcend those physical limitations and achieve a state of resurrected being.
So it's like a journey of remembering who we really are, reclaiming our divine heritage.
That's a great way to put it. And this ties back to those 7 keys of creation we were talking about earlier. Each key, like it's unlocking a stage of universal creation, right? But it's also unlocking an aspect of our spiritual potential.
Right, right. Like we have the tools, but we have to choose to use them.
Exactly. It's a conscious choice.
And to use those tools effectively, We need a roadmap.
Yeah.
That's where those 4 toras come in, right?
Yeah.
Each Torah is like a guidebook for a different world or a different level of reality.
That's it. We talked about Etzluth, the world of pure emanation, the closest to Ein Sof. Bariah, the world of creation. Yetzirah, the world of formation. And then finally we reach Isaiah, the world of action, the physical world that we experience with our senses.
The world we know.
Right.
Okay, I have to be honest, this whole concept is blowing my mind a little bit. It's like we're all part of this grand cosmic drama, and we're all players on this incredible stage.
It's a pretty amazing way to think about it, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
But it can feel kind of overwhelming trying to wrap my head around these different realms and what they all mean. Is there a way to connect these abstract concepts to our everyday lives?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And yes, the text does offer some clues about that. Remember we talked about those 8 threads of the priestly garments, each one representing a part of the body and a corresponding spiritual principle. It's like a blueprint for aligning our physical selves with a deeper spiritual awareness.
Yes, finding the sacred in the everyday.
It's like, okay, time to put this wisdom into practice.
It's like building a spiritual wardrobe. Our physical bodies, they're not separate from our spiritual selves. They're how we express that essence in the world.
Now let's talk threads. What are some of the body parts and qualities that stood out to you?
Or the ears, for starters. They're about listening for truth, tuning out the noise, the deception. It's a good reminder in this day and age, right?
With information overload coming at us from every direction, it's like, how do we even know what to trust anymore?
Exactly. And then you've got the eyes they represent, seeing the glory of God, really seeking understanding, cultivating a sense of wonder.
We don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. It's about perception.
There you go. Then we've got the nose, and this one is interesting. It's about discernment, knowing the difference between true offerings, things that genuinely nourish our spirits, versus false idols.
So ears are filtering information, eyes are about how we're seeing, nose is about what we're drawn to. It's like each sense is tied to a different aspect of how we move through the world.
Right, and it gets even more specific. The mouth, for example, it's about speaking truth, speaking words that uplift, not deceive.
Walking the talk, as they say. What about the other threads?
The neck, that's about moderation, consuming righteousness but not to excess, finding balance in what we take in physically, mentally, emotionally.
Makes sense. Okay, what about the last few?
The hands, they represent action. It's about taking that righteousness, that truth, and putting it into practice. Justice, right action, it can't just stay as a thought in your head.
It's about how we impact the world around us.
Exactly. Then you have the loins, which represent fruitfulness. And that's not just about having children. It's about our creativity, our growth, nurturing those seeds of potential within ourselves.
I like that, like tending our own inner garden. Okay, last one. What about the feet?
The feet are about staying the course, walking the path of righteousness, even when it's hard, even when we want to give up.
Because it's a marathon, not a sprint.
You got it. It's a lifelong journey, this whole spiritual thing. But these 8 threads, they give you something tangible to work with.
I like how this book brings together those big cosmic ideas and then brings it down to earth. Like, here's how you actually live this.
Right. It's like each thread is a little reminder to be more present, more mindful, more connected to the divine in everything we do.
Exactly. And it all ties back to that concept of the microcosm and the macrocosm, the idea that the human body is a reflection of the universe and vice versa.
Well, I like that. That's a core principle in a lot of spiritual traditions.
It is. By understanding ourselves, we gain a deeper understanding of the universe. And by exploring the mysteries of the universe, we unlock hidden truths about ourselves.
It's a beautiful feedback loop of self-discovery and cosmic exploration.
It really is.
Okay, so we've got these big cosmic ideas, but the text also gets into the practical side of spiritual practice, doesn't it? There's a lot of talk about offerings. What's that all about?
Yeah, so the text mentions 3 main types of offerings. The offering of ascension, the offering of thanksgiving, and the offering of purification.
Okay, what does each one represent? Break those down for me.
Okay. The offering of ascension, it's essentially a way of presenting our deepest desires, our aspirations to a higher power. It's acknowledging that we need guidance and support as we grow spiritually.
So, like a prayer, but maybe more active, like taking action, making a conscious effort?
Yes, exactly. And then there's the offering of thanksgiving, which is all about expressing gratitude for the blessings in our lives, cultivating a spirit of appreciation, recognizing that abundance surrounds us even when things are tough.
Focusing on the good, counting our blessings.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then lastly, there's the offering of purification. This is about cleansing ourselves of negativity, letting go of old patterns and habits that no longer serve us.
And making amends for any harm we've caused.
Yes, exactly. It's about forgiveness, restoring balance within ourselves and in our relationships.
So it's like a spiritual detox, a fresh start.
I like that, a spiritual detox.
That's a good one. So we have these offerings, these practices, but the text is clear that it's not just about the external rituals.
Right.
We have to actually engage with the deeper meaning behind them.
It's about inner transformation. It has to be genuine.
It's not enough to just go through the motions. We have to let these practices shift something within us.
You got it. It's about cultivating a true sense of reverence, humility, and gratitude in our hearts.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And you know what else I noticed? This theme of justice that runs through the entire text. It's not just about our own individual spiritual journey. It's about how we treat others.
That's a really important point. It's about how we interact with the world around us and contribute to a more just harmonious existence.
So how does the text define justice? What does that look like?
Okay, so it divides justice into 3 categories: celestial love, terrestrial prayer, and telestial honor. It might sound a little complicated, but it's actually a fascinating way to think about how we embody justice in our daily lives.
Okay, I'm listening. Break it down for me.
All right, celestial love. This is the highest form of justice. It's a love that goes beyond our own personal desires and embraces the well-being of all beings. It's about recognizing that we are all interconnected.
So like seeing the divine spark in everyone, even those who are different from us, even those we might disagree with.
Exactly. It's about acting from a place of compassion, empathy, and understanding.
Leading with love in all of our interactions.
Yes. And then there's terrestrial prayer, which is about aligning ourselves with the divine will and seeking guidance on how to act justly in our daily lives, taking the time to reflect, to connect with our intuition and our values, and making choices that are in alignment with the greater good.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the last one, telestial honor. What is that about?
Telestial honor is about respecting the divine order. It's about upholding ethical principles and acting with integrity, doing the right thing, even when it's hard, even when no one's watching.
It's about living in alignment with our values.
Yes, letting our actions speak louder than our words.
I like that a lot. So by offering these 3 forms of justice, we contribute to a more harmonious and balanced world.
That's the idea. It's a powerful message. Our personal growth and our spiritual development are directly connected to the well-being of everyone around us.
It's not just about seeking enlightenment for ourselves. It's about becoming beacons of love, compassion, and integrity in the world.
Exactly. It's about being the change we want to see.
This has been a lot to take in. Is there a simple way to summarize the essence of what we've uncovered so far from the Book of Melchizedek?
Well, at its core, I think it's about remembering who we are. It's about waking up to our true nature as spiritual beings, having this human experience, tapping into that innate potential within us, and aligning our lives with the divine spark that resides in each and every one of us.
We've talked about this idea of interconnectedness, this responsibility to one another.
We're all in this together. We're here to support each other on the path. And ultimately, we're here to work together to create a more just compassionate and enlightened world.
That's a beautiful message, and it seems like the Book of Melchizedek offers a really unique and compelling guide for that journey.
It does. But like any good map, it's full of symbols, hidden paths, and unexpected detours.
There's always something new to discover. And then it gets even more intriguing. There's this whole part about Adam worshiping elements of nature, like the sun, the moon, light itself, before being guided by God to the Garden of Eden. What do you make of that? Is that supposed to be taken literally?
It's important to remember that ancient texts often use symbolism and allegory. They're trying to convey deeper truths. So while the story itself is fascinating on the surface, it's probably pointing to something more profound, like a spiritual awakening.
Like Adam was searching for a deeper connection with something bigger than himself, something beyond the physical world.
Exactly. He was searching for the source of all creation. And this journey ultimately led him to the Garden of Eden, which symbolically could represent spiritual enlightenment or a state of paradise.
I like that. And then there are these gods of men that the text mentions.
Right.
They're portrayed as these kind of shadowy figures who demand sacrifices and seem to want to control humanity, almost like they represent the forces of darkness or maybe even the ego.
That's a great way to put it. They represent the forces that want to keep us separate from our own inner divinity, that want to prevent us from connecting with that source of true power.
And Melchizedek's message is all about overcoming those external forces, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
He teaches that true authority comes from within, from a direct relationship with the Creator.
Absolutely. He challenges the traditional power structures and emphasizes the importance of personal connection with the divine.
That's a really powerful message. It's about empowerment. It's a reminder that we don't need intermediaries, that we all have the potential to access this divine wisdom and guidance within ourselves. And it's interesting because the text also mentions that Melkisedek is ordained in the order of the covenant which YHVH made with Enoch. Can you explain what that means? It sounds a little, I don't know, intimidating.
It does sound a bit intimidating, doesn't it? But it's basically establishing this lineage of spiritual authority. YHVH is another name for God, and Enoch is a fascinating figure who appears in both the Bible and other texts that aren't part of the official canon. He's often associated with wisdom, prophecy, and even ascension.
Okay, so by connecting Melkisedek to this lineage, it's like the text is saying, hey, this wisdom is legit, it's been passed down through generations, it's the real deal.
Exactly. It's grounding Melchizedek's teachings in a long and respected tradition, giving them weight and credibility.
And what about that phrase, order of the Son of God? What does that even mean? It feels very loaded, especially for people who come from a Christian background.
It's definitely a powerful phrase. In this context, it seems to be emphasizing the divine nature of Melchizedek's priesthood. It suggests that his authority comes directly from a higher power, transcending human limitations.
So again, it's reinforcing that idea that true spiritual power isn't about earthly titles or positions. It's about something much deeper.
Yes, it's about aligning ourselves with that divine spark that exists within us all. That's where true power resides.
I like that. So much of this text seems to point back to that idea of personal experience, of cultivating that direct connection with the divine.
Exactly. It's not about blindly following someone else's interpretation. It's about forging our own unique path and trusting our own inner guidance.
It's about becoming our own spiritual authorities. That's powerful. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's like one thing you want our listener to take away from all this?
You know what really surprised me going through these toras?
What's that?
The emphasis on love.
Wait, seriously? Love?
Yeah.
Angels, mystical keys, secret rituals, and we're talking about love.
Sounds crazy, but yeah, love for like a higher power, love for each other, even love for creation itself, this unifying force, the key to everything.
So it's like beneath all this mystical stuff, there's this simple message about love. Pretty universal when you think about it.
Exactly. Every tradition has that, right? It's
Yeah.
a common language.
Okay, but I got to be honest, some of these details, they're still pretty out there. The Kabbalah, Tree of Life, it's a lot.
Oh, for sure. Complex stuff. Whole other deep dive right there. But the thing is, these aren't just ideas stuck in old books. They've influenced so much, like Western esoteric traditions, art, even today's spirituality.
So how does all of this connect to the listener? Why should they care about these 4 toras and all this mystical creation talk?
Because it's an invitation, right? To think differently. What if there's more to the universe than we think?
Go beyond the literal, explore the possibilities.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, realize love's a bigger deal than we thought.
I'd say the biggest takeaway is, don't take our word for it. Don't take the book's word for it, even. Let these teachings spark your own curiosity. Explore. What resonates with you? Which keys, which threads do those speak to you on a personal level?
Because at the end of the day, it's about your own journey.
Exactly. Finding your own path, your own understanding, that's where the real magic happens.
Well said. On that note, we'll leave you to ponder the mysteries of the Book of Melchizedek. Keep those questions coming, and most importantly, keep seeking those answers. Until next time, happy diving, everyone.